Hi there, greetings and salutations, and happy Juneteenth to you. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. And Derek, we'll begin with this. This is show number 141.
I'm starting to lose track, to be totally honest with you.
We record these programs, of course, and tape them on a Monday. So today is Juneteenth. It is also, by the way, my dad's birthday.
Oh, wow.
So
83?
Double dip to
82. All right.
For my dad. Now,
isn't that funny? He's exactly 10 years my dad's senior, and you're exactly 10 years my senior.
No, I'm more than 10 years older than you.
No, man. You're 50. I'm 40. 50 minus 40.
Oh, that's right.
That IU education.
I forgot about your 40th birthday because
years.
I wasn't invited to it.
Okay,
your
well,
party.
Whatever. Keep going with whatever you're going to say.
But you ate and drank for free all night on my 50th. At any rate.
Which I planned.
Juneteenth, by the way, I am, quite frankly, Derek, I think the first time I heard of Juneteenth was 3 years ago. It was on my iPhone. It just was in there. I'm like, Juneteenth? And then, what is Juneteenth? And it became a federal holiday, of course. And then I looked it up. And I'll be honest with you. It is, to me, unfortunately, not surprising, I guess. But it's a little embarrassing this was not a federal holiday before now.
Yeah, no,
I mean, to commemorate and celebrate the emancipation of slavery.
Yeah.
The final.
A momentous occasion.
Totally.
Yeah, totally deserving of a holiday.
Absolutely. But anyway, lot to talk about here. We are inside, by the way, the Lou Malnati's studio, and this is Query and Schultz presented by Bailey & Wood. Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, BAWFG.com, their website, right, Derek?
855-350-HOME is their phone number.
Keeping your money right here in central Indiana, and a lot to talk about. I want to begin with this. We're going to talk about the NBA draft upcoming. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the U.S. Open, the Colts as well. But I want to get something clarified because I'm not certain on this, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot here.
Uh-oh.
But this to me, and I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, as we know, right? I mean, probably of the two of us I am, but
your words.
Of the two of us I am. But you are now working, I think people know you're now working in the public relations sector for Purdue University, right?
Yes.
IUPUI, which has been Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis, is now officially branched starting next year.
July 1st, 2024.
Okay.
So, yes.
Into two universities. So you have Indiana University of Indianapolis and Purdue University of Indianapolis, right? Two universities.
In Indianapolis, but yes.
Two universities, two totally different degrees.
Yes.
If you were a freshman basketball player right now for IUPUI and you are taking courses at IUPUI that were part of the Purdue curriculum to get you a degree from Purdue, that basketball program, IUPUI, as I understand it, is now being overtaken by or run by the Indiana University side of things,
IUI,
right?
Yep.
So what happens to the player that plays for, or the scholarship athlete that is playing for IUPUI that is now going to have to cross over into the Purdue University Indianapolis academic curriculum?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into the weeds a little bit, but it is a great question. It's one that people have been asking. We have an FAQ page, by the way, at the Purdue and Indianapolis site, if you want to know. My understanding is that students will have to figure all of that out and declare by July 1st. You will not be able to pursue a Purdue and Indianapolis degree while playing athletics for IU Indianapolis is the best way that I can put that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will Purdue and Indianapolis have its own athletic?
TBD. We do not know those
we're talking
things have
about,
not been determined yet.
We're talking about PUI.
All of the
TBD.
IUPUI athletics are going to IU Indianapolis. I thought you were asking me, will Purdue eventually have their own athletics at Purdue University in Indianapolis? I don't know the answer to that.
Do any of the other Purdue satellite campuses have athletic teams?
Indianapolis is not a satellite campus. Wanted to make sure that we knew that. It's an extension of West Lafayette. So
Okay.
It is going to have the same academic standard and all of that as West Lafayette is. As far as Purdue Northwest or Purdue Fort Wayne, yes. I mean, we know that Purdue Fort Wayne has athletics.
I guess you're right.
Yeah. So there are cases where, and Indiana does it IUK and
Right.
IUSB and some of their other branches as well.
IUK, the Cougars.
Yeah, they are. We've had IUK on, I still say we for ISC Sports Network, but I'm still kind of part of the team, IUK on ISC.
NBA draft is upcoming, Derek. Pacers sit at number 7. You and I are going to disagree on this in terms of what Indiana is going to do. My personal feeling, Indiana is going to – they had Grady Dick in. He was kind of their last player that's slotted in that. 7 would probably be a little aggressive of where Grady Dick, the shooting forward out of Kansas, is going to go. But I understand he had a really good workout. It would probably be a reach to take him at 7, but he's an elite-level shooter, I think they feel like. I don't know about defensively, and I think that they are going to prioritize defensively. But I think Indiana's going to draft at 7.
I don't, but if they do, I think they're going to take Jarace Walker from Houston. He makes the most sense for them. But I don't think – the Pacers have 5 selections. Not just 7, but also in the back of the first round and early portion of the second round, they picked 26, 29, and 32. There's no way that they make all 3 of those picks. Zero chance. They just don't have enough room at the end, Jake. They don't have roster spots for all of those guys. So I just feel like – and Brian Windhurst had a report that the Pacers are dangling the 7th pick. I feel like a trade is coming. I don't know if it's going to be at 7, but some sort of a trade for the Pacers is coming. It's a near guarantee.
Here's the only thing, Derek. And people that I've talked to, it is my understanding that the Pacers have certainly made phone calls about moving up and using the 7th pick to do so. But everything that the Pacers were interested in terms of a draft, all of the players that they inquired to said, let's begin the conversation with Tyrese Halliburton. And the Pacers said, no go. Not going to discuss.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to use, unless you're getting up to Wemby at 1, you're not going to use Tyrese Halliburton to get to anybody else
right
in this draft. So, yeah, I wouldn't blame the Pacers for hanging up the phone when it comes to that.
Like, I think the Pacers are really interested in the guy that they really like in this draft is Brandon Miller out of Alabama. Now, that's not they're not the only team that likes Brandon Miller. But Brandon Miller has a skill set that really intrigues them, and I think is the perfect missing piece for what this particular team needs, what this Pacer group needs to use a past Pacer player. If you could take any Pacer player from the past, put them on this roster and say, that's the style of play. I'm not saying the level of play, but the style of play we need. It's Paul George or Derek McKee. It's one of those two guys. And Brandon Miller is kind of a more for those two guys. That's exactly what they want and need. But there are other teams that, this is a draft with 3 guys in it. 3. Wembanyama, Miller, and Scoot Henderson. Outside of that, 4 through 12, pretty interchangeable. So I think they wanted to test the waters to move up to get Brandon Miller. They found out the asking price was going to include Halliburton any way that they went, and so they said, fine. And I think they're going to stay at 7.
The reason I think it's going to be a trade for a veteran, Jake, is because generally speaking, when you are approaching trading a draft pick for a veteran, you're trading off one thing for the other. You're trading off the floor. With a veteran, you pretty much know what the floor is because the veteran has played, right? So you have an
known
understanding.
Commodity, correct.
Yes. And you're trading that for the ceiling. Here for the Pacers, with the picks that we're talking about at 7, like Taylor Hendricks and Walker and guys like that, the ceilings just aren't very high, according to everybody. Walker might have a 12, 13, 15-year NBA career, but offensively, he's merely a competent player. He doesn't have a huge ceiling offensively there. Hendricks is not viewed as a high-ceiling guy. He could be a nice rotational piece and maybe a solid starter, but that's basically where the conversation is starting and ending there. So since I'm not trading off on ceiling with a lot of these prospects, I think it makes the most sense to just get somebody who's already established.
Let me ask you this. What veteran would you be looking at?
You can't conjure up a trade out of thin air, right?
But give me
I don't know. Anunoby or somebody like that, the guys that are usually talked about around the Pacers. I think would a wing player that can defend. And shoot.
Right.
Hopefully you get both of those, but that's what you want if you're the Pacers because that's the need. And there are a lot of veterans that kind of fit that need as well. But if it ends up being Jarace Walker or even Taylor Hendricks, I think with Walker you get a little bit of a better defender. With Hendricks you get a better shooter. So, but they're around the same level of player, right? I think those guys can come in and fit and be good. It's just that you don't really have the enticing ceiling. This draft, Jake, to me is different than last year's draft because you had a clearly defined top group in last year's draft too, remember?
Right.
But the group right after that, Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin, you could see those guys being frontline NBA players, and they look like frontline NBA players.
Mathurin looks pretty good, yeah.
Right? With this group, I don't see like frontline NBA player when I look at Jarace Walker or
I think
Taylor
that's fair.
Hendricks.
What year of the last you have this? You don't have many skills, but one of them you have is this NBA draft skill set.
Yeah, but you have to. I'm starting to lose that, man, in old age.
See, that's
I'm starting to lose. If you're going to
so
ask me about
it's
something
based on your childhood,
2017 draft, I'm probably not going to be as sharp as 1997.
What would you say is your expert? This is
like
one
my
of the
wheelhouse.
Yeah.
96.
The 96 NBA draft. Okay.
It was just one of the greatest drafts ever.
How deep do we go before you screw it up?
I'll
give you. Do you want me to give you the franchise or the
franchise,
college?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, Philly,
Iverson 1,
Toronto,
Camby,
Vancouver,
Sharif Abdurrahim.
Milwaukee,
It was Marbury who they traded for Ray Allen.
Minnesota,
Ray Allen.
Boston,
Boston at 6. Antoine Walker.
L.A. Clippers,
Lorenzen Wright.
New Jersey Nets,
Kerry Kittles.
Dallas,
Samaki Walker.
Indiana,
Eric Dampier.
Golden State,
Todd Fuller.
Cleveland,
Vitaly Potapenko.
Chicago. Oh no, I'm sorry, Charlotte,
Kobe.
Sacramento,
Peja.
Phoenix,
Steve Nash. I mean, this draft is sick, right?
Charlotte,
Charlotte was Tony Delk.
Portland,
J.O.
New York Knicks,
John Wallace.
New York Knicks,
Walter McCarty.
Cleveland,
Zadrunas Ilgauskas.
New York Knicks,
Dante Jones.
Vancouver,
Roy Rogers.
Denver.
Man, I think that's where I get tripped.
I've never heard of this guy.
Martin Murasep.
I've never, ever heard of this guy. Yeah. He played in 35 career games with an average of 1.5 points.
An international player.
This is why it's so amazing that Denver won the NBA title, because they were always known for this kind of thing. Ephemius Rentesius?
I don't know.
Okay, Lakers.
Derek Fisher.
Utah.
Utah was, maybe that was Murasep?
Correct.
Okay.
Detroit.
Jerome Williams.
Orlando.
Priest Lauderdale?
No, he was 28 to Atlanta.
Brian Evans, right?
Correct.
Yeah, from IU.
And last pick of the first round, 29.
Give me the team.
Chicago.
I don't know.
Your neck of the woods.
Somebody from UConn. Jake Voskuhl.
Close. Travis Knight.
I got the wrong guy.
I think that is ladies and gentlemen, what I would like to do right now is to show you that in 1996, Derek Schultz was how old?
13.
Okay, we are seeing right there the evidence. We've tried forever for 141 of these shows and 10 years of radio to show you the pathetic, absolute lack of life that Derek Schultz had as a young teenager. Pimply-faced, braces, probably a headgear, half-eaten club sandwiches on his 16th birthday, watching wrestling VHS tapes, and getting pinned by girls. There is no greater evidence of his lack of social life than the fact that he just rattled off for you the 1996 NBA draft nearly in totality at like an 88% clip.
I've noticed, and I've been happy, my wife and I are about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary, but I've noticed actually the 96 NBA draft, knowing that, was kind of a turn-on for people that I was able to do that. Like, I'd be at Yogi's or at Upstairs Pub, and I'd be able to just rattle that off. And a lot of times I went home with that person.
The guy that was listening to you and asking who the Bulls took? Yeah, I could see that. You know?
It was impressive.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry that I missed Efri Mercerbers, the 24th pick or whatever in that draft.
I mean,
honestly, Jake,
isn't it fitting that like Denver would take someone like that?
And you'll relate to this. If you're a kid of the 70s or 80s, or even into the 90s, a big part of the reason for that knowledge is cards. That 1996-97 Topps Chrome basketball set is one of the holy grails of basketball card
That's
collecting.
probably why I know, to your point, that's why I know like the 83-84 All-Stars so well in baseball.
And you knew all of the rookie class because those cards, the Kobe rookie, the AI rookie, the Marbury rookie, all that stuff was hot commodities. And it was a great draft class. I mean,
that is an amazing
like
class.
10 Hall of Famers in that class.
Yeah, that's a pretty good class.
Marcus Camby is one of the worst players in that first round, and he had like a 15-year career. He was DPOY, I think, at one point.
Defensive Player of the Year. Is what
or at least all defense at one point. Marcus Camby was a fantastic NBA player.
He's a good player.
Sharif Abdurrahim was a good player.
The best part about it, too, is that the Knicks had 3 picks in that.
And they missed on all 3.
And went 0 for 3.
All those guys were stiffs.
I mean, seriously.
I was so excited for them to get John Wallace because he was supposed to be a lottery pick.
He was a beast, though.
And
I mean, you look at
he was a nothing burger in the NBA.
Here's who they passed on: Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
Yeah, who had a nice career. Derek Fisher.
Roy Rogers was a good player for a while.
He's fine.
Derek Fisher. I guess that's I mean, outside of that,
I mean, Ben Wallace, I think, was undrafted, so he's part of that class too, and he's a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, Nash, Peja. I mean,
but this particular draft,
class.
Derek, the Pacers have a ton of picks in the late first, early second. Does Andrew Nembhard, for that matter, does Nikola Jokic, do those players wet their whistle to load up on those later picks and try to hit? Or do you realize the anomaly of having guys that pan out to that level at that?
I mean, the Pacers it's kind of a good problem to have, I guess. The Pacers can't because they just don't, again, they don't have room. They don't have room for a bunch of flyers. Every roster spot for them right now is very important. But I'm glad that you brought up Nembhard because if we were having this same discussion last year and you would have mentioned Andrew Nembhard's name, the scouting report on him was that he had no ceiling, right? Or a very low ceiling, I should say.
Right.
He's a backup level player. That's what you would say about Nembhard. And you saw Nembhard in that first year, Jake, and I'm not trying to make him out to be Magic Johnson or anything, but clearly his ceiling is several magnitudes better than what people said it was going to be.
I had a conversation, disingenuous to say that I have I mean, I don't want to oversell that, but I happened to
look at Jake.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Kevin Pritchard at the very beginning of the Pacers
They had dinner
season.
Together.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no big deal.
And
drinks.
It was at a media event. And he was like, listen, this Nembhard's really good. Like, he was running with he can run our offense. And I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, this is like Jamison Brewer. And
there's a name.
And he was good.
Yeah.
Nembhard had a good year.
There's a reason why they made him the highest paid second rounder ever.
Yeah.
In NBA history.
The other guy,
really
I'm telling you, the other guy, Derek, that I'm really high on for the Pacers that we don't talk about. We talk about Matherin. We talk about Halliburton. We talk about Nembhard. We talk about Isaiah Jackson. We talk about, Jalen Smith. No one talks about Aaron Nesmith.
Yeah, you're right.
He's not going to be a mainline star for you. But for what they gave up to get him, he was part of the Brogdon trade, which might have been addition by subtraction. He is a nice player that can score if he needs to. He's a pretty good wing defender. But most importantly, he just kind of goes out and does his thing. I don't think that he's a me guy. I think he's a team guy that just you don't have to run things through him to get 12 or 15 out of him. I think he's a nice piece.
I think he fits really well, and that's what it is. It's about stacking assets and pieces right now for the Pacers. Assets category would be like Matherin, Halliburton, guys like that. Pieces category would be Nwora, Nesmith,
right?
Maybe Jalen Smith, like that level of player. And I think the Pacers are pretty well off. I think we'd agree. Like, this isn't a championship contending roster or anything like that. It still has to grow, and they still have to add some more to it, but it's off to a good start.
Nesmith, give me the college.
Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah. Nwora.
I
was thrown off on this.
Why am I spacing on this?
I don't know why I was thinking this.
Tell me what you were thinking.
I was thinking Connecticut. It's not Connecticut.
No, I know it's not UConn. Hit me with it.
Same league as Connecticut, I think.
Are they in the Big East?
Yes. Well, is this school in the Big East? I'm pretty sure. No. This school's no longer in the Big East.
AAC, you're thinking.
Correct.
Okay.
The AC, yeah.
Does Rake have it up there? That's usually my cheat sheet. I just go like this, and then you go
that's
C,
unfair.
And then Rake help me out here.
That's unfair.
Jake is on team. Oh, Clemson?
No.
I didn't think he played it.
No, this
Louisville?
Yes, that's correct. Louisville's correct.
What league? I feel now I'm disappointed in myself because I feel like I should know.
Louisville's ACC now. Are they in basketball?
Yeah, they have been for a while.
I couldn't remember in basketball what they're in.
Yeah, but now I'm mad at myself because I feel like I follow a lot of Louisville people, so I feel like I should know the Louisville
Derek,
players.
While we're speaking of college basketball real quick before we break, when we were at the Final Four in San Antonio, who did we – you ever seen the movie The Omen?
Yeah. The horror movie, right?
Yeah, you've seen The Omen?
Unfortunately, that and The Ring are like the two that I've seen. Yeah.
The Omen is the scariest movie ever. That's
awful.
Why I'm stunned that you've seen it.
Awful. Yeah, I had nightmares I still have nightmares.
It is.
About it. I hate
horrifying.
horror movies. Hate them.
The music alone is
just
terrifying.
awful.
But at any rate, in the movie The Omen, at the beginning of the movie, the first half of the movie, there's a photographer. And everywhere that Gregory Peck's character goes, the photographer just like randomly appears. He's like, excuse me? Takes pictures of him because he's like a chancellor, an ambassador. So he's always getting pictures. He's like paparazzi. When we were in San Antonio, who was that guy that everywhere we turned, we're like, there he is again.
Yeah, we were.
Every time we turn around.
Bob Huggins.
Yes.
It's sad to see his career come to an end like this because he really is a fantastic coach, but it's his fault.
Yeah, he's had multiple.
It's difficult to. I mean, he got he got another chance here after what he said, the Xavier comments, and still blew it. So it's hard for me to feel sorry for somebody like that. I hope he gets his life together, but his image is tarnished forever, unfortunately for him.
And I've never really heard. I mean, his comments on the radio, the fact that he survived that.
Oh, disgusting. Yeah,
right.
He shouldn't have survived those.
But he's clearly a great coach.
Yeah,
he's a West Virginia legend. He's a Morgantown native.
But we don't know. Was he intoxicated taking that radio interview? There's probably a very good chance that was the case. You know what I mean? This could all be stemming from these alcohol problems.
The radio interview, to me, for those that are unfamiliar, Bob Huggins, WLW radio in Cincinnati, I think they cold called him because it sounded to me like they were having a conversation, and they're like, well, let's just call Huggins and ask him. Because if you listen to that recording, the first thing they say is like, well, we've got him. I mean, we got him here. Let's just ask him. And Huggins sounded like he was asleep.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he knew he was on the radio, quite frankly, although I think they kind of said it. But your question is a fair one. He had a DUI in Cincinnati when he was the head coach at Cincinnati that was pretty bad. I mean, he was pretty out there. And then this. He is a tremendous basketball coach. I don't think there's any question. He's the winningest coach to have never won a national championship. Mm-hmm. He is, in terms of total Division I wins, I think he's fourth all-time. I'm sorry. He's fourth all-time for coaching wins, but not all of them were at Division I. He won like 60 games in non-Division I before he got into Division I coaching. But the question now becomes, who does West Virginia hire? Somebody earlier today I heard somebody say Tom Crean. Yay or nay?
It's just no. I would hire Crean if I'm trying to build something up. If I want to keep something going, I'm hiring somebody else. That would be my answer to that. And I know Georgia tried it and failed, but Georgia, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, but
that never got off the ground.
Georgia started on the ground,
and
went this way.
I mean, West Virginia is a very good men's basketball program with a proud history. They have a fantastic – all their athletics teams have a fantastic fan base because there's nothing else to do.
Have you been to Morgantown?
Yeah.
It's a cool town.
Yeah. I've been to Charleston, right, too. Yep. West Virginia is beautiful.
It is.
But it's just a little depressing, too, if you
the socioeconomics of it, obviously. I mean, I've got kind of this love for the people of West Virginia because I think they're just hearty, wholesome people.
And they're proud. This is what I love about living in Indiana. People in West Virginia are proud to be from West Virginia.
That's true.
Just like people in Indiana, for the most part, are proud to be from Indiana.
That's true.
And I find that endearing because nobody's proud to be from Connecticut.
West Virginia.
It's America's greatest state, but nobody who cares.
West Virginia, the only state with multiple panhandles.
Yeah, I think we brought that up on the show once.
I find that fascinating.
We've been a little scattershot this first segment. 96 NBA draft. I wasn't expecting to get to Huggins. Can we get to our Lou Malnati's Who's Cooking?
Let's do it.
How about that?
Let's do it.
This will be right in your wheelhouse, no pun intended, because wheels are involved. But let's thank our sponsors, Lou Malnati's. They are the namesake of our studio here for every Query and Schultz show. Order.loumalnatis.com. We have the free delivery code up there, QNS Friedel, QNSFREDEL 23.
Got it.
For free delivery. Delicious pies, great wings, very, very underrated wings. Excellent. I know you think of
traditional style pizza as well.
Yeah, you think of pie when you think of Lou's. You got to try the wings as well. If you've never tried the wings before,
pizza, by the way,
apps, just delicious food. Their salad, really, really good as well. Order.loumalnatis.com and use our code. I feel like we keep picking Alex Palou for these awards.
Boy, I'll tell you what, red hot though.
When the other drivers in the paddock are in awe of what you're doing, that's when you know you're on fire. Like I think Alexander Rossi had a quote to Nathan Brown of the Indy Star, something like, "We all got to figure out what AP's doing." You know what I mean? Because it's just unbelievable, the run that he's on here, and a 51-point lead. We still got a good chunk of the season left to go, but it just feels like Palou's going to run away with his second championship in 3 years.
I think the thing about Palou that makes this remarkable is that he's not a guy that came into the league with a lot of fanfare. I perhaps have told this story before, Derek, but during the COVID year, Alex Palou, as a rookie, was running for Dale Coyne. And he had not had a great year, but there were times where you're like, this guy seems like he's pretty good. And I remember seeing him at Mid-Ohio, which was towards the end of the year, and I'm like, man, it seems like you've had a good year, but just bad luck's come your way. And he said, I've got to get something going this weekend because I have no money, I have no sponsors, and I have nothing for next year. And he got punted out of that race, finished 16th. And I'm thought, and then boom, he ends up with Chip Ganassi. And I remember Graham Rahal. I said to Graham Rahal, I go, man, for some reason I think this Palou guy's pretty good. And Graham Rahal said, oh no, Palou's really highly thought of. The way that he ended up with Chip Ganassi, Mike Hull, who we know, friend of the program, right?
Yeah.
Mike Hull told me that
director of CGR.
Correct. He was he watched what Palou did with Dale Coyne, but he was originally on Ganassi's radar, and I think might have tested for them even, which led to the Dale Coyne opportunity, when he was running like a sports car series in Japan. And Mike Hull looked at that sports series and said, that car and that style of racing in Japan requires the most technical, savvy driving skill set of any series that you'll find in the world. And Palou dominated that series, and Hull was like, if he can dominate in that series, that means he understands the feel of a race car. And that's what gave him the opportunity. And then Ganassi ended up kind of taking that and signing him. And Derek, he's probably going to win his second championship in 3 years. Yeah. And he may do it. He may do it before the year's over with.
Yeah, but it's funny that you mentioned that because that COVID year, that rookie class also included Scott McLaughlin and Pato, I think, was in that class, right? And I remember hearing about this McLaughlin guy's winning every supercar race, and now he's coming here. You remember hearing about Pato, and you remember. I mean, I even remember hearing about, there's this Dutch kid, whatever, that is fast, and Rinus VK, and I don't remember. We did it was over Zoom because it was a virtual rookie luncheon that we did with our friends at
Askew was there as well.
Yeah, American Dairy Association, Indiana, and people talked about Askew he was going to be a big thing. And I remember Palou was kind of like the odd man out, where we're thinking, what are we going to ask this guy? He's from Spain or whatever. Like, okay, cool.
Have you been to Barcelona?
Barcelona.
See, I thought
Barcelona.
No, I'm a little embarrassed by this. I used to think that too, Derek.
Yeah.
Then I went there. They don't say it.
It's Barcelona.
No. There's one little section that uses that. It would be like an.
That is where I've been in Barcelona.
The ones the Catalonian section,
the midtown of Barcelona.
That's not.
Calls
it's
it
actually
Barcelona.
No.
Yes,
that's not accurate.
The most historic, beloved neighborhood.
It's actually the
Barcelona.
It's kind of. Have you been to San Francisco?
Yes.
Kind of like the Castro district. Kind of like the Village in New York.
Okay.
That's where they say Barcelona.
That's a great neighborhood.
It is a great neighborhood.
Yeah. It's a great neighborhood over there in Barcelona. And I love the Village. Used to go to McSorley's.
Oh, yeah.
They had two types.
Oldest bar.
Two types of beer. You get light or dark.
I guess McSorley's now, I always thought it was a cool place, but I guess that's like if you go to McSorley's in New York, you're a total poser.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
This was 20 years ago when I was going in there, but yeah. We actually,
when you were 20,
we closed down. It was my freshman year summer after IU, my first year at IU, and we had a friend at IU that was working for the Rosie O'Donnell show in New York. She did an internship, and she was in the NYU dorms. So my buddy McKeel, who went to UConn, we took the train into the city and went and hung with her, and we went to McSorley's and closed it down. And it's 2 a.m.
How'd you get in?
And we go back to Grand Central Station.
I
got in, and we got back to Grand Central Station. The trains had stopped running. So the cabs were waiting.
The trains never stop running in New York City.
They stopped running. The New Haven line stopped running at 2 a.m. or something like that. And by the way, she told us we could crash at her NYU dorm. And of course, we go up to the security desk, and the guy's like, two dudes aren't going up into the female dorm at NYU. Sorry. That might
have been the dorm I lived in, although I was in the guys' dorm, obviously.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
They did let me in the women's dorm, though.
So we took a cab ride home. McKeel passed out in the back the entire time. This was the summer after 9/11, and the driver, a really, really nice man, told me all about where his entire family history, how he got to America, and how 9/11 affected them, and it was fascinating. But I'm like kind of half in it, half out of it. So there are parts that I remember, but there are other parts where I was a little bit out.
How much was your cab fare?
It was expensive. It was like $187 and something.
And who paid that?
We barely had enough cash to get it through. Mark and I combined our funds.
So this poor guy, an immigrant he
was excited about the cab fare. The cabbies wait for you to miss the train. And then I told him, he's like, where do you need to go? And I go, we need to go to Fairfield,
He's excited
Connecticut.
because most normal people after $180 fare are going to tip him a minimum.
So he
minimum
drove us
of
all
like
the way up.
$60. Because you know that he's got to then go all the way back.
I think the tip was $4. That's all. Whatever we had left. I think it was $4 or $5. I think I might have given him a fin.
A what?
A fin, a fiver, a Lincoln. That's all I had left. Jake, I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. Okay,
Neither did he. That's the point.
I was 19. Like, I was broke. Sorry.
I was 19. I didn't know where my next
needed to get
meal
home.
was coming from, but it was probably in the house in suburban Connecticut I grew up in that the guy was taking me back to. Meanwhile, he told me his whole life story and how his family had been traumatized by 9/11 as an immigrant, but I needed the $4.
Well, what sucked is that I was really hungry, and I was hoping I wanted to pull over at like Taco Bell or something. And we didn't have enough cash. So actually, you should commend me. I used that cash that I would have normally used for Taco Bell to tip him. So the Chalupa extra value menu went instead to my new friend who drove us to the Fairfield train station. We come back on the show talking Colts, wrapping up minicamp and OTAs and offseason storylines as we enter into
need
the
to have
dead
a discussion
portion
about simple etiquette
of the NFL offseason. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender presents Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network alongside an empty chair. I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We get views that kind of filter in throughout the week. I apologize for the scattershot nature of segment one of this show. I know that's maybe what you've come to expect from this program, but we're going to try to laser focus a little bit more on sports topics here in segment two, starting with the Colts, who wrapped up OTAs and minicamp last week. So now, if there is such thing as a dead portion of the NFL season, this would be the so-called dead portion of the NFL offseason. Just welcoming everybody back and apologizing for the first segment. That's all.
What was wrong with the first segment?
Anthony Richardson, a little bit up and down, but about what you would expect from a 21-year-old. Jake, you actually have the misfortune of having to discuss this stuff every day. I know people want to panic whenever he has a bad practice, or they want to go crazy whenever he has a good practice. To me, the whole thing is just kind of a nothing burger. The experience, good or bad, is what's important here for Anthony Richardson.
I don't mean to be a cynic. It's June. There are going to be some growing pains for sure. You know, Anthony Richardson, there are a lot of things about Anthony Richardson that lead you to believe that he could be a dynamic playmaker in the NFL. None of those were his play in college. His size, he seems like a very mature guy. He seems like he's saying and doing all the right things for certain. And you want to see him do well. And I hope he does for the sake of the Colts and for him because he seems like a nice guy. I think there's enough there to really make you salivate, and then there's enough there to make you very cautiously optimistic. But I just
did anything
it's
that happened?
really hard for me to get overly. I'm one of the few probably that will admit this to you. I don't know that I have enough of a trained eye to be able to determine anything based off of guys in shorts and no pads running around in June.
Did anything that happened in the offseason program, rookie minicamp into minicamp OTAs, change your perception, either good or bad, for his chances on being the week 1 starter? Or are you exactly where you were pre-draft?
Probably exactly. I think it's too early to tell, but he did get a lot of reps, but then so did Gardner Minshew. I think it's too early to tell. I mean, they're going to hand the keys over to him at some point this year, undoubtedly, right?
Yeah.
And I think the school of thought of of babying guys through, I think that kind of goes out the window, and it's like, let's just go with it. I do think that having Shane Steichen, that's the area where I'm optimistic, because if you look, like somebody said to me, they're like, listen, Anthony Richardson, you just never know, because look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts in year 1 really struggled, and then he took off. And I'm like, I get that, but who was his coach? It was Shane Steichen, right? I mean, so I think he was probably I think Steichen had a lot to do with why he was drafted. So that area leads me to believe that they're just going to say, look, this is your guy, you're going to go with him, and that he's going to get reps early.
Yeah, as long as he's not a complete liability disaster in training camp and in the preseason, I think he's your starter week 1.
Yeah.
Because he can still get away with his legs, I think, and kind of learn everything else. And to me, Jake, I don't really see the point in starting Gardner Minshew for 4 games. I don't see the point. In fact, that's valuable experience.
Unless you feel like he is not yet ready to be thrown to the wolves, because you don't want to interrupt his confidence long term.
Yeah, I mean, if he's behind where you would hope he would be, very behind, then I can understand.
I will say, see if this makes sense, Derek. If Anthony Richardson does not start within the first month of the NFL season, it's because the Colts are protecting Anthony Richardson as opposed to protecting themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd be really surprised if that's the outcome, but yeah, I would agree with that if that happens. So there's storyline number 1. What week 1, who's going to be the starter? Storyline number 2, I don't want to spend any more time on, and we'll have more time to spend on this because we spent a chunk of last week's show on it, but the Jonathan Taylor contract extension, we know that's looming, right? What's going to happen there? For the third one and final one, I put, what the hell they're going to do at cornerback.
Well, here's the thing. Did Isaiah Rodgers, shoot himself in the foot? Some obscure website comes out with a story that he's being investigated. The NFL and the Gaming Commission of Indiana confirmed that he's being investigated. Nobody says the name of anything, and then he pops out and goes, "It was me. Sorry, I shouldn't have done it. I apologize." And we've never heard anything since.
Yeah. It is a little odd that we've had, not really any follow-up on it. But at corner, the Colts, the only 2 veterans they have are Kenny Moore and Dallas Flowers, who's better known as a return man. And then they did heavily invest in rookies like Juju Brents, and I know they really like Darius Rush.
Right.
What's the other kid that they drafted? They drafted a third cornerback that's in there too.
Brents is the one.
Yes, who I think is going to have the chance to start right away.
He's a bigger kid, yeah.
But Jalen Jones, the other corner. So they do have a bunch of rookies there, but they're just kind of short on experience. You would think that if Rodgers is going to be suspended or cut or whatever else is not going to play, you would need another cornerback.
If the investigation comes out and is confirmed that Isaiah Rodgers placed wagers on games in which he was playing, he'll never play in the league again.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
He's done.
Probably not.
So that to me, that's the biggest storyline, is when are we going to hear anything about the Rodgers situation? Because it does have, and it's an area of great need for them. They also didn't do much, I didn't think, to address the offensive line. They are pushing all in on.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, if they have an injury, they're in big trouble.
Right. Well, not if.
Well, yeah, that's
when,
the problem.
Right?
The year where we kind of decided, hey, this Colts offensive line is unbelievable, was the year that they flukishly had amazing luck on the offensive line injury-wise, where everybody, I think, was available for all 16 games.
Right.
Or maybe it was 17 games at that point. I'm trying to remember. Would that have been the 20 – I'm thinking of the 2020 season. That would have been 17 games, right? 2019 was the last 16-game season. Is that correct?
Last year was the first 17, right?
No, the Rivers season, I think, was the first 17-game season.
Okay.
I think.
I don't know.
Or maybe that was the last 16
To me, they're like
season.
NBA drafts, Derek. In the last handful of years,
I keep waiting for Rakestraw to type in. Greg, I know you had a lot of soccer and everything that you had going on this weekend.
He's trying to tell you to the
I
window.
need you to be my
it's
cheat
the second,
sheet here.
Derek. It's the second.
I need you to.
Pay
No,
attention.
it's they've had at least 2. They've had at least 2 17-game seasons. Yes. Okay. So this will be the third.
This will be the third.
Yeah. So the first one was the Wentz season, not the Rivers season. So you were wrong on that one. Oh wait, no, I said that. So I wasn't wrong. I was just I was confused. I was mistaken. Interesting, Jake, that there is an interleague series between the subject of our Love Heating and Cooling, Love That Play, and I need to know who you're rooting for because they're both, I think, in the AL and NL, maybe the two best stories to this point in the
Cute
season.
fella?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Greg told me that the Orioles are taking on the Redlegs.
I'll tell you what, the Reds, man, half game out, and it is unbelievable. I mentioned last week, there are, in the time that I've been following the Reds, in terms of young players that burst on the scene and have everybody like, holy cow, Aquino comes to mind, but that's only because he had a red-hot start, and it was like, look at what this guy's doing. It's unbelievable. Aroldis Chapman, when he burst on the scene.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
It was
I
like,
remember
oh, my
that.
gosh, this
He's
guy's
throwing
throwing
105. Yeah.
People going crazy over it. But what they're getting right now out of Elly De La Cruz is amazing. He is clearly the every-tool player. He is fast as lightning. He is quick as a hiccup out of the box. He had a routine, well, what normally probably would be a routine out at first, and he runs down the base path and slides headfirst into first to beat the first baseman to the bag.
That's our love
for
that
an
play.
Infield hit. Unbelievable. Love that play. Love that play for the year. I mean, you never see that. A guy hitting it down the first base line, and then, unless it's Bill Buckner at first, beating the first baseman to the bag. Unbelievable. Love that play, by the way, brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Love-HVAC.com, or, of course, 317-353-2141. My buddy John Coop, friend of the show, called me and said, look, I'm in need of a whole new system. And boom, Love was out there within a week. Got him taken care of. He's happy as can be. That's what we love about Love Heating and Air. They take care of you as if you are family. They're like family to me. I would not steer you folks wrong. Believe me when I tell you, you are going to be satisfied with whether your furnace, air conditioning unit, whatever it might be. Love-HVAC.com for Love Heating and Air. Derek, the Reds are a great story. So too is Cute Fella. The Orioles are, I mean, they've got the second best record in baseball, I think, right now. Problem is they're in the same division as the Blue Jays, or as the
Rays.
the Rays.
They're in the best division in baseball history right now, yeah.
But it's impressive what they're doing.
Yeah, good
But
for
I'm
the
telling
Reds.
you, Elly De La Cruz is worth the price of admission to Great American Ballpark.
8 straight, 11-13, and we'll see if they can't keep that going this week. 353-2141, love-hvac.com for our friends at Love Heating and Cooling. Had a great Father's Day yesterday. We're going to recap that next. Also, quick hits to get to, and Chateau Kitchen's Butter Bullbleep. Stay with us. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back, Corey and Schultz, Bailey Wood Financial Group presenting sponsor.
I thought I was supposed to take it out there.
ISC Sports Network. You usually do the last one. I usually do the middle ones, if I remember right. I think that's right.
Do you remember in the radio days how we used to do that? Coming out of the break?
You would usually just point.
Yeah.
And so I'd take it, and then if you didn't point, you'd take it.
Yeah,
I mean, pretty much. Yeah.
I think it's like,
I don't think there was an exact science to it. I mean, you always open the show just like you always open this show. But
I never really thought about that.
yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever did. I think you always always opened the show alphabetical order. It's kind of what we went with that. So yeah.
What were we supposed to get to?
Well, Father's Day. I had a great Father's Day. I was going to recap that.
Oh yeah, your son's playing baseball. My mom was super excited about that.
He's all done. He wrapped up a year in the Broad Ripple Haverford Little League.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to guess what team he was on, because we had a conversation about this earlier, Derek. I firmly believe we've had this discussion before, but many people, if you ask how they got their allegiance for a baseball team as an adult,
Yeah.
proximity is number one. I mean, obviously around here, Reds or Cubs because they're close, and that's where you go to see a game or whatever, your first game you go to. That's a factor. Dad's favorite team is obviously always a factor. For a lot of people, it's like the first Major League Baseball game you remember seeing on television or World Series, the team whose colors you liked if you're really little. And then the fourth one, which is, I think, a factor, is the first Major League team whose name you used in Little League. Like, I know guys that literally you're like, why are you a fan? Like, how are you an Indians fan? Like, well, I played on the Indians when I was, in kindergarten.
I thought you were going to say who was on TV. Like, I know Braves fans because TBS had Braves games.
Well, that's a big one, too.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the Braves and Cubs.
I don't remember Little League somebody ever choosing because of Little League. That's an interesting one.
So I remember every team that I played on. You ready?
Yeah.
Starting in not T-ball, but I had Allisonville Christian Church, the dad pitch underhand.
Yeah.
Okay. I was on White Sox, Tigers, Cubs. Then in Little League, Giants, Indians, Red Sox.
Wow.
I'm actually a fan of none of those teams.
Yeah.
But I was a Reds fan all during my childhood because they were the closest team, and that's where we went to go. Went to go watch. So now your son's. I'm going to guess your son's team.
Okay.
Is it a major league team?
Yes.
If he decided that this was going to be his favorite team, would you be okay with it?
Indifferent.
Okay. No hesitation there.
I'm completely indifferent about this team.
If he wanted to spend New Year's in this city, would you have to pack winter clothing?
Yeah, you probably want like a light jacket at the very least. I'll put it this way: when it snows there, all hell breaks loose.
Braves.
Yeah, it didn't take very long. Yeah, I'm completely indifferent about the Braves. I don't care. I don't think Braves would say that about the Yankees.
Now,
the Yankees beat them in a couple.
This
World
was
Series.
Obviously he's how old?
6.
So was it T-ball or was it dad pitch?
It was T-ball, but by the end of the year, we were basically doing soft toss to pretty much all the kids. So,
how was it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I loved it. I was assistant coach, and I was interim head coach for a game last week because Coach Patrick and his son had Irish dancing or something. So
obviously not for Irish Fest, which has been canceled.
So I ended up being interim head coach.
Irish dancing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like competitive. It's like a big deal. It was at the state fairgrounds. There were thousands of people there, apparently.
What is it, like your kid's playing with Michael Flatley's kid?
I don't know. Am I supposed to know who that is?
You don't know who Michael Flatley is?
No. Is he Irish?
He's from Chicago, I think. He's
Bulls
the Riverdance guy.
There's a Riverdance guy? I know Riverdance. He wrote that song? Lord of the Dance?
That's it. That's Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance, the Riverdance guy.
Yeah, man, sorry. I remember Fred Astaire from my mom watching black and white movies. He was a dancer.
Michael Flatley, he's the fella that has all the people lined up.
Michael Jackson as a dancer. J-Lo and the Fly Girls on In Living Color. So I know some dancing history. I do not know who Michael Flatwell is.
Flatley.
Rake, do you know who Michael Flatwell is?
Michael Flatley.
Okay. Vince, do you know who Michael Flatwell? Yeah, of course you don't. Yeah.
It's because you're saying his name wrong. It's Michael Flatley.
Sorry. Whatever.
He's a fella that walks around in tights and he's got
idea who that is.
The tap dancing shoes, and then a bunch of super hot chicks lined up, and they go.
Don't care. Yep.
It's like watching dominoes, except for they're dancing, and then he gets the crowd fired up. He's, let's do one more. They do it like 30 times.
I didn't know you were such a Riverdance enthusiast, but to each their own. Had a great Father's Day.
He was big in 1996 when somebody else was actually sitting around getting excited about Stephon Marbury cards.
Bloomington, and we always go to Bloomington once a year just to kind of drive around campus and see all the stuff that we don't recognize because it's completely I can't imagine what it's like for you because you were there, 30 years ago or whatever. Mine is creeping up towards 20 now, but it was a lot of fun. We went to we did a hike. We went and had lunch at a great Greek restaurant. And then we played mini golf at Hoosier Putt Hole in Ellettsville.
Excuse me?
And it was a great time. James actually won at Hoosier Putt Hole. Get this. They had a Purdue hole inside Hoosier Putt Hole.
The name
Which
of the
which
place-
which
this
I was
is- this is
surprised
an
by
actual,
because it's
wait,
fun.
this is an actual place?
Yeah, it's just a mini golf place. Hoosier
It's like,
Putt
no, Derek, is this a gas station?
No, there's a Quickie Mart, whatever, across the street gas station, but Hoosier Putt Hole is on this side of the street. So right here would be
You realize this is like a whole...
no, but this is the gas station. Right here is inside Hoosier Putt Hole.
You know that... I mean, you realize it's a family program. And what you're
It's
saying-
family fun center. It's mini golf. It's like putt. Hoosier Putt Hole.
Who names a miniature golf place Putt Hole?
You putt, and there are holes in golf. Naturally,
But then
Hoosier
they throw
Putt
in,
Hole.
I mean, Derek, this is a. I mean, Hoosier. It's like Hoosier Daddy. I mean, I don't
Indiana.
even want to go there with what this.
Hoosier, Indiana, putt golfing, hole golfing. What? I don't see what the problem is.
Did
What's
your
the issue?
son? Did your son snicker at this?
He was laughing a lot, but he was having a great time.
I-
Everyone has a great time in Hoosier Putt
I
Hole.
wonder why he was laughing. What? Excuse me.
Everyone has a great time inside Hoosier Putt Hole.
Okay, Derek.
It got really hot. We were there in like the middle of the afternoon, so I got really sweaty inside Hoosier Putt Hole.
I mean,
But-
come on, man. Come on. Did they give out Gold Bond powder? Do they? Is that one of the things that they give out?
I almost made it. Yeah, I almost made it. Yes, we had a great time. Hoosier Putt Hole.
Did it sprinkle?
Inside Hoosier Putt Hole.
I didn't know if you need a raincoat.
No, it wasn't very moist inside Hoosier Putt Hole. It was, in fact, it was overly dry inside Hoosier Putt Hole.
Derek, I have a professional broadcast career to think about here. Okay, I mean, like literally, what are we doing? I'm working. I'm calling races on the weekend. Derek's running around inside putt holes and then making jokes about it and precipitation jokes and moisture and humidity. I mean, what else, right?
The important thing is that all had a wonderful time deep inside of Hoosier Putt Hole.
Come on. I mean, what are we doing here? I'd like to apologize to anybody who follows my actual legitimate professional career.
James is just old enough to start making fun of stuff like that, and he laughed about it for an hour straight.
I wonder.
He thinks it's the
that's
funniest
good to know.
thing ever.
That's good to know that the apple did not fall far from the
and
tree.
that is what made it a perfect Father's Day. My son getting it and laughing about the name Hoosier Putt Hole. But it was a great day.
What did your wife think of this?
She was over it pretty quickly.
I wonder why.
She was over it
I
pretty
wonder
quickly.
why.
Time for our quick hits. Speaking of Bloomington, this guy spent a year in Bloomington, but I looked at the latest projections for Jalen Hood-Schifino, and he's right on the edge of the lottery there. So, he's projected
He's moving
13
up,
to
Derek.
15 range. I saw one that had him 8th, and I was like, whoa. But anyway, you want to guess how many lottery picks IU has had in the last 10 years? One's not so obvious because he was
Okay, hold
barely a lottery pick.
Okay, hold on. And the last how many?
10. So dating
Hold on.
back to the 2014 draft.
Okay.
I'm counting this draft.
Oh, so we're not counting Zeller and Oladipo?
No, since then. So
Okay.
because I'm doing the last 10 drafts counting Thursday.
Boy.
Because Hood-Schifino will only potentially be the third.
Okay, so they would be, hold on. Noah Vonleh?
Yep. 2014. I think he went 9th.
Boy, that's
Or
a
10th?
That,
10th,
whoever
11th?
took him, that was a big swing and a miss.
Yeah, he bounced around. I don't know if anybody ever really. He was so young. Remember, Jake? He was 19. I don't know if anybody really ever gave him
Am
a
I
chance.
missing an obvious one here?
He was barely a lottery pick. He was the last pick of the lottery.
Oh, Romeo Langford.
He was 14th. So Hood-Schifino right there in that range. But doesn't that kind of show where Indiana's been? The fact that they've had,
Well, the only other
barely
lottery picks I can think of
2 lottery picks
would be obviously Oladipo and Zeller,
Eric Gordon.
and then Jared Jeffries.
Jared Jeffries. Yeah, was there anybody? There wouldn't have been anybody else in that mix, right? 21st century.
Calvert Chaney.
Well, not 21st century, but
Yeah.
yeah, Calvert Chaney was one. Yeah.
And obviously,
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it's not like Indiana has had a ton of lottery picks, right?
Right.
Because even their most productive players, like Alan Henderson or the guys like they weren't lottery picks. Kind of shows what they've been able to do despite not having that level. I mean, God, Kansas.
Romeo
and Kentucky,
Langford is the one.
They have a lottery pick every year.
Romeo Langford is the player that's why I'm just so hesitant with recruiting. He's a wonderful talent, nice kid. But, I mean, when he announced for Indiana, people acted like they were ready to, they were already, like, stitching the banner. And I'm like, he's going to be here a year. He's going to hang out in the three-point line. He's going to average 16 a game.
No, I hear
Go
you.
pro. You're never going to hear from him again.
I hear you.
He barely made the Spurs roster last year. Yeah. Barely. He may not make it this year.
And it'll probably just be whatever. Like, his career will
He'll
peter
probably
out
be playing for the
unceremoniously
Shanghai
and-
Sharks with Eric Bledsoe next year.
Hey, you know what? If he goes overseas and plays, those guys could do
totally
really
agree.
well.
I agree.
Those guys could do really well.
But I'm just saying.
If that ends up being for him.
I mean, there were middle-aged grown men that waited in line 45 minutes in the rain to get his autograph when he was 17.
Yeah, I remember. He's a big deal. Indianapolis only got to enjoy Pirates' #1 pick, Henry Davis, for 11 games. Not even 2 weeks. Davis got the call up by the Pirates late Sunday afternoon. The top selection in the 2021 Major League Baseball draft. Davis, a catcher, has performed well in the minors. 284, 11 homers, 30 RBI. I'm not sure what his exit velo is, but the other stuff looks pretty good. So congratulations.
Apparently his exit velo out of here was pretty high.
Henry Davis. Yeah, it went quick. I don't know if anybody cares about F1, but Max Verstappen took his 6th victory of the season at the Canadian Grand Prix, 41st of his career, drawing him level with Ayrton Senna. So,
tying him.
Drawing him level.
Tying him.
He's still well behind Lewis Hamilton, 103 all-time wins for Lewis Hamilton. But all Verstappen would need, how many races are in an F1 season?
That's a good question. I should probably know
15? More than that?
20?
15? Let's see. Rake's pointing to the screen. 20. Okay, 20. So Verstappen is at 41 now.
Who said that?
He needs to get to 103, so all he needs is 3.5 more seasons, right? Because you win every race in 2024, win every race in 2025, win every race in 2026, and then another half season. Right, it's F1, so just going to keep, winning every race because it's the same thing every freaking race. Great. I'm saying that while Alex Palou wins 3 out of 4, but still, obviously a lot more parity in IndyCar. Last segment, Bite or Bullbleep. We're coming back with it next. Corey and Schultz, please don't leave us, ever.
Derek, they're
ISC
already long
Sports
gone.
Network.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgages and a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgages and a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hi there, welcome back. For those of you who made it through what we are now calling the dreaded era of the Hoosier Putt Hole segment, my name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. We appreciate Lou Malnati's. We appreciate, of course, Bailey and Wood, the title sponsor of this program. We appreciate our other sponsors, Love Heating and Air, for example, Chateau Kitchens, for standing by us even in the dark times, like the segment that we just completed. And we are hoping that they stand by us despite the sophomoric nature of that of which sits to my left.
Yeah. Bite or Bullbleep is brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens, chateaukitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook for before and after pictures.
Matthew says I look good in a backward hat.
Yeah. You just look like Will Ferrell whenever you wear a backward hat. It's the weirdest thing. You see it? You see it a little bit?
No. That is the most offensive.
It's only, Jake, it's only when you wear a
offensive
backwards
thing
hat.
ever.
Why?
Because he's got a fat face. He's got deep set eyes. He looks 10 years older than I am.
Deep set eyes, right?
Yeah, and I have a fat face, and I'm self-conscious about it. It'd be like me saying to you, like, you look exactly like Mini-Me. Vern Troyer. You look like Vern Troyer when you sit like that.
sitting like normal.
Yeah, well.
Get to kick my feet a little bit because they don't hit the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little bit nice. Here's what we do with Bite or Bullbleep. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we bite or it's Bullbleep. I have a feeling I know what your answer is going to be to this one because you like a prospect that I don't like as much in this draft. Statement 1, Wemby will be the only
brother. I get that all the time.
franchise-level player taken in the 2023 NBA draft.
Say it again.
Wemby will be the only franchise-level player taken in the WNBA draft, 2023 NBA
Yeah,
draft.
I think everybody else is a complimentary piece.
Really? I thought you were a Brandon Miller guy.
I like him, but I
Yeah?
think he's a great complimentary piece. I don't think Brandon
Okay.
Miller's a build-around guy. He's a last
All right.
piece guy.
I was wrong about that. Okay. I thought you liked Miller a lot more. Yeah, I agree. I don't really see it. I mean, if we were to combine, like I kind of mentioned this in the segment, if we were to combine the 2022 and 23 classes, Wemby would still go number 1, but then the next like 6 or 7 players I would take from the 22 class,
Possibly, yeah.
before I take Scoot. Or,
I mean,
or Brandon
Scoot
Miller
Henderson
or any
is
of those
apparently
guys.
a great player. I haven't seen him. He's coming out of the G League, so who knows, right?
I don't know. I do feel like we had those guys were more established last year. Like you saw 2 seasons of Jaden Ivey or a
Right.
couple seasons of Benedict Mathurin and Keegan Murray, and you didn't really see it with these other guys. Rory McIlroy's career will be viewed as a disappointment. Bite or Bullbleep?
I'll say Bull Schultz. He's fine.
Can I don't know. I don't ever want to plead ignorance on my own show, but I feel like that's a question for like
Why
what
stop now?
I feel like that's I feel like Rory McIlroy's career would be viewed as a disappointment. Am I wrong in feeling that way?
I mean,
Like, wasn't he supposed to be a phenom and then he burst onto the scene and won, and then he hasn't?
that's kind of
He
like
hasn't
Jordan
won?
Spieth. Jordan
Yeah.
Spieth was like that, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I feel like we talk about Rory a lot, but he's not actually winning. I'm a majors guy, Jake. I'm not Kevin Bowen. I'm not watching not that there's anything wrong with Kevin watching every weekend. He's a golf fan.
Right.
I'm not. You know, I watch the majors, and that's all that I watch. So if Rory is winning the, Nokia cell phone invitational in Boise, I wouldn't know that.
Right. I mean, I'm with you.
So I don't know how to judge it. I'm trying to see the
Does
last
Nokia
time.
still make a cell phone?
Yeah, Rory hasn't won a major since 14. He won 2 that year.
My
the
first
PGA
cell phone
and the
was
British.
a Nokia.
I think mine
It was
too.
great. It had a little pull-out antenna and the
I had
little button
Snake
thing.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I like that one. I mean, I think so. I think I'd view Rory's. It's crazy because he's won 4 majors. That's pretty darn good.
That is.
In the non-Tiger division, to win 4 majors is pretty incredible. But I think we'll be talking about the misses because he's seemingly had a lot of those. Final statement here. Statement 3. All would enjoy life inside of Hoosier Putt Hole. Buy it or Bullbleep? I buy it. It's a great life inside there. A lot of room to move around and putt to your heart's content.
Draymond Green has opted for free agency. Buy it or Bull Schultz, he'd be a perfect fit for the Pacers. Or do you think he's too big a putt hole?
Yeah, I don't. I would rather not have. Honestly, of course he would fit the Pacers. He'd fit anybody. His skill set is great. It's unique. It's going to make him a Hall of Famer, despite the fact that you look at his numbers on a sheet and be like, this guy. But I wouldn't want to deal with it. I used to be.
He has
Draymond,
a little Artest in him,
yeah,
right?
I used to be a Draymond guy because I think that chip is what made him great. I think having all those people doubt him and him prove them laughably wrong is what made that's what we love to see. Draymond Green proved everyone wrong, but he's just kind of done this character turn the last couple of years where I'm like, I can't stand this guy. Like, he's a dirty player, and I find him just kind of overall a little bit insufferable.
Fair.
So yeah, that's more of the. That's where I'm at with it. Thanks to all of our great sponsors, Lou Malnati's, title sponsor of the studio, title sponsor of the show is our friends at Bailey & Wood Financial Group, our friends at Chateau Kitchens, and our friends at Love Heating and Cooling. For Vince, for Jordan, for Rake, he's Jake. I'm Derek. We will see you next time. If you want, tweet me at Schultz975 for directions to Hoosier Putt Hole. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Let's go right down to it.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.